Hello ENG 403 and EDU 525. This is Jared Berg, your instructor for English Methods class. I apologize that we were not able to meet on Wednesday, January 30th. I had every intention of continuing ahead with our night class up until the point where USF canceled all activities. And so what I want to do is provide you with a couple of videos to sort of fill in some gaps and kind of outline a plan moving forward. A few things on the syllabus will have to be adjusted, and so let me begin by kind of giving you a brief tour of that, and then leave you with some assignments that you could be working on leading up to our next class Wednesday evening, February 6th, so that you don't feel as overwhelmed in the remaining couple of weeks. So here we are on the syllabus, and I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward a little bit and just kind of remind you of some of the major assignments that we have for this class so far. Everybody's been participating very well. Our article studies, and then each one of those is worth a series of points. Literature circles will continue at our next meeting, and I'm going to also explain the requirements for your chapter summaries. One note about this is I'm going to condense this. You're only going to have 2 of those, so rest assured that any changes I make will be reflected in the overall total of the class, okay? Interviews should all be completed. As far as the research paper goes, and I know that several of you have emailed me with concerns about this, please rest easy, okay? I don't want you to get started on this yet. It was my intention to kind of guide you through and begin this process last Wednesday. Unfortunately, we're going to have to put it off for a little while and up until next week. But please do not begin this paper, do not choose a topic or anything like that. What I am going to do is I am going to post a little bit of a lecture lesson giving you some of the basics of MLA and APA formatting, and I will post that under week 4 on the LMS. That's something I was going to take some time in class to go over. That's an easy one to just put up on the computer for you. So do look for that and consider viewing that as we move forward. The active grammar lesson, we're not quite in a point to worry about yet. And the balanced literacy unit plan, we will be beginning some sort of initial exploration of this at our next class on February 6th. So as far as the schedule goes, I'm going to kind of condense week 4 and 5 together. I will see you again for week 5, Wednesday, February 6th at 6:00 p.m. A reminder that we will be meeting in the computer lab in the basement of Glidden Hall. Okay, so do not come up to the 2nd floor. I want to go to the computer lab just like I anticipated doing last week. So find us in the basement. I think it's room number 115. It's the only computer lab down there. So meet us on February 6th in the computer lab at the basement of Glidden Hall. What could you be working on leading up to our meeting on February 6th? A couple of things I would suggest. First of all, article study number 2. You see that your initial post is due on Sunday, February 3rd, with a colleague response by Tuesday, February 5th, prior to our meeting on the 6th. That absolutely has to be done. The second thing I would encourage you to do is to go ahead and begin working on article study number 3 as well. That will sort of give you a little bit of extra time and space and energy if you're able to get this out of the way early as we move forward with the rest of the weeks here. The final thing that I would have you do is not due for February 6th. As a matter of fact, it's not going to be due until the week of February 13th now, but I would ask you to complete the first chapter summary out of the Foster text, How to Read Literature Like a Professor. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is to read the introduction of that text, and then I'm going to assign you 1 chapter to read and to come up with a summary over. Again, that is not due for this upcoming Wednesday, but is something you could do to get ahead for the following week. Okay? So once again, the assignments that I'd ask you to consider would be article study number 2, which needs to be done and submitted by Sunday this week anyways. And then to just go ahead and move into article study number 3 over active learning, to go ahead and read through the introduction, your chapter out of How to Read Literature Like a Professor, and get your chapter summary ready to go. And then the final thing I'll just add here would be to view the MLA and APA lesson online under week 4. Okay, so those are the things that you could be working towards. Even though we've lost a little bit of time in terms of the research paper, by completing all 4 of these activities, it will really lighten the load next week for you between Class 5 and Class 6. The other announcement that I want to make, and I'll make this again in class on Wednesday, but I say that I want you to complete a rough draft of your paper for the 13th. I'm not going to necessarily require an entire rough draft. If you wish, that would be a wise thing to do, but if you don't think 1 week is going to be enough for you to get the whole paper written, then just come to class on the 13th with a detailed outline of how you plan for your paper to look. All right. So once again, the 4 assignments that you could be working on leading up to our class on February 6th. What are my expectations for the chapter summary? Okay, so this is not due February 6th, but this will be due the first time the week of February 13th. When you read your chapter out of the Foster text, I would like you to do 4 things for me. I'm going to ask that each student comes to the front of the classroom and just gives us a summary of the reading. You can use notes, you can use slides, you can use the marker board, whatever you prefer, but there are 4 basic things I'm asking you to do, and the pressure is really pretty low for this. I don't need any sort of formalized lesson plan at all. You're just responsible for 1 chapter, and you're going to bring everybody else up to speed on your chapter. So, start with a brief summary of the chapter. What was it about? What was the focus? What was the content of the chapter? Second, 2 to 4 ahas or takeaways. These are things that you underlined while you were reading the textbook, things that jumped out at you, you thought were interesting or important, or explained a concept in a way that you'd never thought of before. I'd like you to share those with the other students. Third, I'd like your ideas for integration or balancing, whatever the content of your chapter is. How do you take that information, move it into the English language arts classroom, and try to integrate or balance all of these different standards and skills we've been talking about? Reading literature, reading informational text, writing, speaking and listening, language usage. How might you try to integrate some of those things? Don't feel obligated to hit every single one of those standards, but just discuss with us for a little bit how you might approach integration based on the content that you're reading. And then finally, a question that I always like to ask is, how does this information impact your teaching approach, either in your classroom or in your future classroom? So you're gonna get up in front of everybody. You're probably gonna spend 3 to 5 minutes, and that's it, just going through the chapter that you read, giving us an outline of what you learned from that. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, please email me, and I look forward to seeing you in the basement of Glidden Hall in the computer lab on Wednesday night, February 6th, for our next meeting. Take care and stay warm.